Ni no Kuni Wrath of the White Witch. Looking in from a distance, there isn't too much here that aligns with my tastes. Between the childish, cutesy characters and the odd-sounding name, which translates to the country of two, the Wrath of the White Witch, I would have quite easily passed on this way back in 2013. But, you know, the general hype that this game received made it pretty hard to ignore. This is largely due to the collaboration with Studio Ghibli, you know, the guys that made Princess Mononoki, Spirited Away, and all those other anime masterpieces. It really didn't take long for me to see that the quality of their films carried over to this game. Ni no Kuni did not spare any expense. It is a beautiful, huge game and one of my favorite JRPGs released in the 2010s. All those things I loved about the RPGs of the 90s were there, and this is what made Ni no Kuni so enjoyable for me. If only the sequel was half as good, but that's a story for another review. If you missed this classic in 2013, it was recently remastered for the PS4 and PC and also ported to the Switch, so there is no excuse not to check this one out. Before we begin, it would help me out a lot if you hit that like button and also sub for more RPG content. Alright, let's get into it. The story begins in the town of Motorville, where Oliver and his friends are busy working on a motor car while listening to Motorhead. Unfortunately, that last bit is completely untrue. Anyway, just like any teenager, Oliver decides to disobey his mother and sneak out at night in order to give the car a test run. Stupid idea, as this kid clearly can't drive. Within seconds, the car crashes nose first into a lake. Fortunately, Oliver is saved by his mother, but she later dies as a result of saving her son. Oliver is a mess and tries to shut himself off from the world. Then the magic happens. Oliver's tears magically springs his favorite doll Drippy into life. Drippy soon introduces Oliver to a parallel world which only he can save from the evil wizard Shadar. The story is quite a simple one and cruises into third gear until the final third of the game, when you are hit with a load of twists and turns, and this is where the story hits its peak. While Ni no Kuni's story can be a little childish at times, I found a lot of enjoyment in it. Oliver is your typical young protagonist, kind-hearted and always thinking of the best for everybody else. He's supported by Esther and Swain, and of course Drippy, who is the real MVP here. On the whole, Ni no Kuni's voice acting is very good, but my main man Drippy is at another level. Most of the time, he provides the characters with direction and advice, and I could not get enough of his amazing Scottish accent. The combination of his hilarious personality and perfect voice acting made him the standout character for me.
Drippy, Lord of the Fairies.
Who?
What, are you deaf or something? Drippy, Lord of the Fairies, I said, didn't I?
Drippy?
That's right, and I'm sick to the teeth of you snivelling and moaning. A proper crybaby bunting you are. 3 days, man. I mean, I've been sad before, but crying for 3 whole days? I'm surprised there's a drop of water left in you. You're a big boy, man. 3 days is, well, it's unheard of.
This game should be called Drippy Kuni. He is the main man. While the main cast all do their jobs, it is the villains that really drive the story. Their depth in history was always interesting to learn about. Let's take Shadar for example. He looks awesome and is introduced as a powerful, mysterious and very, very creepy villain. As you progress through the story, you'll learn a lot more about this character and eventually view him in an entirely different way. The same can be said about the White Witch, who has many, many surprises towards the end of the game. It is so rare to play an RPG where the main interest lies with the antagonist, but you'll see no complaints here from me. Now, let's talk about one of my favorite parts of the game. The world in Ni no Kuni is absolutely perfect. Yeah, that is a big call, but honestly, there are few RPGs that have given me so much enjoyment in the world map exploration. The desire to explore every inch of the world and uncover all of the secrets takes me back to those PS1 Final Fantasy titles. It also really helps that this game is just so beautiful, with the visuals truly capturing the Studio Ghibli artistic style. The same can be said about the outstanding soundtrack composed by veteran Joe Hisashi. He has worked on most of Miyazaki's productions. Ni no Kuni's environments are stunning. They are colourful, varied, and there are plenty of towns and hidden areas to discover. Each town is completely unique and full of life, even if they did seem to get significantly smaller as you progress through the story. The way that Ni no Kuni is presented is one of the strongest points of the game. Do you remember the first time that you inserted Pokemon Red into your clunky old Game Boy? Or Blue if you're one of those people? It was an amazing experience. Catching and battling Pokemon felt like the greatest thing ever. Ni no Kuni has a similar mechanic. There are hundreds of familiars to collect scattered throughout the world, each with their own strengths and weaknesses. These familiars can also evolve into stronger creatures with a choice of 2 for their final evolution. This is great, but I was a bit disappointed that the physical appearances of each evolution didn't really differ too much. In terms of catching them, I had a serious love-hate relationship here. On the plus side, the feeling you get when capturing an awesome looking familiar is, awesome. On the other hand, capturing some of these familiars is one of the most frustrating things you will ever have to do. This capturing works on a percentage system. After defeating a familiar in battle, capturing it is down to luck. You could probably imagine the annoyance of this when some of the capture percentages are as low as 1%. I actually fought a certain familiar about 200 times but didn't end up capturing it at all. Pokeballs were just so much easier. At least there is a huge variety of familiars, but if you want to create the best team possible, then you cannot ignore the Dinoceros. In a world of overly cutesy looking familiars that look like they just want cuddles, the Dinoceros exists to destroy, so much so that in many regards it ruined the game for me. The Dinoceros is just so much stronger than just about every other familiar that it is beyond a joke. It turned an enjoyable challenge into a complete cakewalk. I know, just don't use him. But he is like a slice of cake in the fridge. It's right there, in front of you, calling your name. I could not resist, and I was very disappointed with this single yet significant balancing issue. Kicking ass with your little critters works well for the most part, but falls short in a few areas. Enemies can be seen on the map, and once you run into them, you jump into battle. Each of the 3 main characters can equip 3 familiars at a time, and they can be rotated as many times as needed, but they do share the same HP and MP pool. You can choose which character to actively control, with the other 2 battling with AI, but there is no intelligence here whatsoever. Your ally stupidity can get very frustrating. Your active character can freely run around the battlefield, dodging incoming attacks and unleashing an attack when the time bar is full. Each turn, your familiars can attack, use an ability or a defensive maneuver, and these are governed by cooldowns. There are also HP, NP, and golden orbs that often scatter throughout the battlefield, so it pays off to have an awareness of your surroundings. These golden orbs allow a familiar to activate a super move. While this is nice in theory, the chances of finding one of these is so low that there is almost no point of having this feature. The outcome of most battles will be dependent on how much MP you have remaining. If you run out, then you won't be able to heal and you'll die shortly after. This complete dependence on MP does let the entire system down at times. The customization mechanics here are simple, but offer enough to keep me interested throughout the game. Each familiar can equip a weapon, armor, and accessory, with this equipment being dependent on the class of the familiar. Abilities are learnt through leveling up, and a familiar's stats can be raised through feeding them certain foods. While this customization system isn't what you'd call deep, I felt it was perfect when considering the amount of familiars that you can capture. I am no mathematician, but I say the chances of simply playing this game for the story alone is very slim. There is a lot of optional content to work through, and most of it is very addictive. Catching all of the familiars and exploring the incredible world for its secrets is where Ni no Kuni's best moments lie. There is also a casino and a battle arena and loads of side quests to work through. Unfortunately, most of these side quests are just your typical fetch or hunt quests, with some of them only requiring you to talk to an NPC. Here, you take the excess emotions because they are way too emotional and give them to other NPCs. This is a prime example of quantity over quality. These side quests are incredibly boring. I have so many fond memories of playing Ni no Kuni for the first time, but the one thing that I'll always remember is how beautiful it looks and sounds. The graphics, voice acting, and soundtrack are outstanding, and the animation sequences created by Studio Ghibli are a pleasure to watch, even if there are only several of them. The addictive familiar catching and world map exploration were the other two highlights of Ni no Kuni for me. Unfortunately, there are also a few areas where the game falls short. The stupid AI and unbalanced familiars take a lot of enjoyment away from this otherwise decent combat system. The side quests also needed a lot of work. Quality over quantity, people! Whatever system you decide to play it on, Ni no Kuni Wrath of the White Witch is highly recommended, especially if you're a fan of the PS1 era or monster catching RPGs. Have you played Ni no Kuni? What did you think of it? Let me know in the comments below. This is Hellfire RPGs, thanks for watching. If you like this, it would help out a lot if you hit like and subbed for more RPG videos. See you next time.